Tom sent me the script. He sent me this, I wouldn't even say, sometimes you get sort of a red pages that are, meant to be, the sort of the color of confidential. And it was not really red. It was like this weird off-red color that I had never really seen before in a script. So I got this somewhat red script. And I remember reading it starting at night, actually. And it was probably one of the best scripts that I've ever read. I mean, maybe something about that hue of color on the page that Tom is sort of obsessed with, thinking about how the color of the page affects the reader, And I think, the rhythm in his script is very similar to the rhythm in the movie and the rhythm with which Tom speaks his own words out loud. There's something so inherently Mr. Ford about this film, and there was about the script. To me, this was a story about love, love lost, that unrequited sort of sense of, and the violence that heartbreak really causes internally. We all spend most of our lives doing our best to present something to the outside world. We don't want to put all of our feelings on other people. We don't want to have to make other people go through the pain when we're in pain that we might be experiencing. And I think what Tom does in this movie is, Amy's character presents that outside world and that sort of projection she wants to put out there. And then the book and the story of the book is the internal world and the internal heartbreak of a relationship and what she's done and how she feels and what she sees she's done to someone else. And to me, that's what was so moving about the screenplay, was that it felt deeply personal. Something was very specific to Tom that he needed to say. And then also it spoke to me, and which meant I felt like it would speak to a lot of people about real love and real heartbreak in that way. Yes, this movie was a difficult one for me in that it was one about non-action, sort of resisting all of my normal instincts. I'm a very physical person. I love, respect, and honor the physical world and my own self, and in terms of creating characters, it's a very important part of what I do. And in terms of this film, I couldn't use any of that. I had my hands tied behind my back, and so I was sitting there incapable of doing what I would normally want to do. And in that sense, that resistance and that struggle, that fight with patience and that fight against my own instinct was a really interesting thing to explore. And yes, I think every character does stay with you. There are those moments. My favorite time and the thing I love most of all is the preparation and the time before you even begin shooting. It's my favorite time. It's when I guess people would call it the rehearsal period if you're doing a play, but in movies you usually just have your sort of alone time, whether exploring the world of the character that you're going to create, the real one, or meeting people that do the same job, or experiencing some experience that they may in the movie. And I take that with me, and that never goes away. And along with the friendships that I make along the way. I mean, I had on this film, well, it was really important. I had just come off of a number of films where I was really expressing myself physically. Like, I could defend my family physically. The idea of masculinity, the movies I'd come up before this were all about how do you fight for your family, literally, and feeling strong within myself, feeling that masculinity was about being able to physically protect something, emotionally open up too, but that was a big part of it. And so I really tried to kind of whittle myself down, if that makes any sense. Physically, I really tried to find the weaknesses in myself and try and be curious about them. Those moments in which I wouldn't speak my mind, or I would hesitate, or, you know, and so I became curious about that. Working with Amy, even in the very short period of time that I worked with Amy, she is hands down, I would give it up to her like this, but I'll say she is one of the best actors that I've ever worked with. And I feel like we only got to scratch the surface in very few scenes, and that was that was, I wish there were more, you know, because there's nothing more inspiring than working with an actor who's better than you, and she's so much more so, and I just, every rhythm was something interesting to me. There was every discovery that she made was enlightening to me. You know, angles in which she approached the scene were angles I hadn't thought of. I have such a huge admiration for the work she's done, the people she's worked with, the performances she's given, that I kind of walked onto set geeked out in a way. And it was just lovely to have such a sort of profound respect for this person that you're working across from. And I think it worked really well for the story, because I was intimidated by her, and every line that I say to her is about how much I adore her. So that's how I feel about her. And I think Tom's ability to make decisions within that space, with all that preparation, it was interesting to see him fight with his own perfectionism and his own obsession. And that's really what the movie's about too.
It is.
What was interesting was almost this sort of therapeutic session for him, in which he had to ask himself what was actually important to him, what really mattered. Could he leave the aesthetic over the heart? Is the heart in the aesthetic? Is connection in organization, you know, in perfection, or does it keep you from it? And I think all of the things that that make Tom as extraordinary as he is, and what he struggles with as a human being, which I think are not dissimilar in any human, are all in this film. And that's what makes it such an extraordinary feat.
My ex-husband used to call me a nocturnal animal. I've been thinking about him a lot lately. And then recently he sent me this book that he's written. It's violent and it's sad. Then he dedicated it to me.
Did you love him?
I did something horrible to him.
What are we gonna do?
It's a question of how serious you are about seeing justice done.
Don't do this. I really wanted to be this person that you thought I was.
You're crazy. You're making a big mistake. You'll never find out.
When you love someone, you have to be careful with it. You might never get it again.
It's fun to kill people. We should try it sometime.
Nobody gets away with what she did. Nobody.
ノクターナルアニマルズ